Hey, what's up, guys? Right here on the Eli and Mike podcast, myself and Mike are super excited to have somebody so, all right, let's be real, somebody so amazing.
Right.
And honestly, we have the amazing Jide Buckley here with us today.
Welcome, Mr. J. How are you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be, I believe, your first guest in this new studio.
It is. Off us on Rodeo, and we're honestly honored
Right.
to have you here present with us.
Awesome.
It's crazy because we would always used to say, or at least myself, that we'll be walking in Beverly Hills, working in Beverly Hills, and now we have a podcast in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive. So thank you for being our first guest. We're so honored.
I love it. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
So some of the things in our podcast are very open landscape. We like to make sure everybody enjoys it, and I'm sure you've seen maybe some of our feed. Knowing you're huge on education, so I'm sure you probably, let me follow up on these guys. What are they all about?
Yeah.
We really wanted you on the show for a variety of reasons. For one, you're the coolest dude. We sat down with you and Ashley, your girl.
And Ashley.
Shout out to Ashley.
We wish you were here.
She's missing in action. There's a chair for her in the back, and she's not there.
Yeah.
But she's got business to attend to.
Right. Yeah. She's handling. Yeah.
So being who you are, you honored us by your presence. And, you do a lot. You provide a lot of information, a lot of feedback in the mortgage industry. I think one of the biggest things me and Mike always talk about is, what is your why to? Why do you do this mortgage stuff? Is this something that you always wanted to do?
You know what? It was something I stumbled across by absolute accident. Wow. And it was, for me, mortgage was like ego death. You know what I mean? In the sense of, I don't want to give you a long-winded answer, but I came to LA when I was 24. And at the time, I just finished college. Well, I didn't just finish college. I'd actually been out of college for, I think, 2 years at the time. Studied marketing at college. I was actually modeling. I was with a good agency in London. I moved over to LA. I was with LA models in LA. And I was doing Lululemon, Adidas, all these things. And I was really obsessed with just I can make money and skateboard around LA and all these things. At the same time, I did have a background in research and data from college. And I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed marketing, and that was what I was studying. And in LA, I was kind of feeling like it was a bit of a black hole. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people just trying to look cool and be models and influencers. And I worked for an influencer app at the time as well, because I used my marketing background. I combined that with the modeling thing, and I was doing the back end of an influencer app.
Okay.
And I was in marketing, and my ex at the time, my ex-girlfriend, she said, she showed me a paycheck of this guy, and the paycheck said $146,000 for the month. And it was just at the beginning of the refi boom, like right at the beginning. And she went, "You could do this." And I was like, you know what, I could, but I'm a terrible salesperson. And I don't like selling things to people, and I don't like trying to persuade people on the phone. I'm a marketer, right? That's my skill set. But I said, you know what, I'll try it. So I got into it. I worked in the call center for a while. I learned the ropes, and I actually started doing pretty well. I started making a little bit of money, and instantly started to question why I was doing it, because I realized I started to make a little bit of money, but at the same time I was like, you know what, it's not making me feel that happy. It's not making me feel happy. It's not fulfilling me, So I was on a hike, and I was reflecting on my experiences that I had from when I was a kid around, living in a home, owning a home, all these things, or at least my family. And I found my why, and that's when I started jumping on social media, which was essentially growing up. I'm a only child of a single mother.
Got it.
So we lived in an apartment which was super tiny, had no double glazing, full of damp, mold. It was a council apartment, so Section 8 type thing, right? Yeah. It's part of what drove me to continue mortgage, because I was ready to quit. I was like, I'm making money, but it's not fun. It's not something that I enjoy. There's no purpose to it.
Right.
I started reflecting on those times, and I was like, I need to do something in my life whereby I'm actually giving back. I need to provide some value to the world. Okay. I don't want to just take. I don't want to be this cool dude. No, that fulfilling your ego does nothing but just keep you on this perpetual cycle of needing to have more, needing to fulfill your ego more. And that's what I realized. And I got some money, and I realized it didn't make me happy. And then I started reflecting on my experiences, and I looked back, and basically we were in this situation where we were in council housing. We had no money. My grandparents had just passed away, so my mum wasn't in the best headspace. We were both pretty pretty down, and we were on a council house, I guess a housing register is what they call it in the UK. And what that means is that you're kind of in housing. In order to get on that register, you need to be in housing whereby it's deemed almost a little bit unsafe type thing. So we were on that register. We were at the absolute lowest of the low between us. And I remember speaking to Mum, being like, "Mum, like I don't want to bring friends around because like, you know, it's embarrassing, like whatever. And like, when are we going to get a house?" Or Mum would be like, "Oh, we'll get it when you're 12. We'll get it this." And then my mum took me to this house one day that she said was her friend's house. And we rocked up to the house and she said, "Jide, it was our turn on the housing register. This is our house." And I was like, wow, that's so awesome. And that feeling of having our own home for the first time was awesome. And it was a place that we were renting. But then after a couple of years, my mum ended up working something out with her brother and these things. And we ended up actually, my mum ended up getting the opportunity to buy the home.
Oh my God, I have the chills right now. This is amazing.
Yeah. And then when she bought the home, I mean, the trajectory of our life completely changed. It was like things were so bleak and everything just turned full 360. And to have that experience and to experience that firsthand, I was like, okay, cool. My mission now is to educate people, other single mothers out there, other people that don't think it's possible, to actually go ahead and just try. And if they can try and they can make something happen, because there are so many hacks and tips and tricks and ways to make it happen,
Of course.
and I'm in part responsible for that, now I can actually feel some level of like purpose. And now I can actually take that amazing gift that was given to me out of thin air and be the person to on the other end to give that out. And that's where I just started going in and just making mortgage content to just help people who don't have hope. You know,
that's so interesting because you actually found your calling. I think a lot of people, they fall on their face and they don't like what they do. They don't enjoy it at all. I mean, you even said it yourself, and part of your story was, "Oh, I don't know if I can be fascinated by doing mortgages." But you had a situation happen between your own life with your family, your mom, and it brought up to light like, hey, this could be something else. And you know, I think a lot of people, like our viewers, could be like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do mortgages or be a construction guy or do what I do, you know, whatever their daily duties are." And they get lost in thinking the money is going to solve all the problems. But and you even found that, and you're like, "I'm not going to be able to make my life happy, but I'll make money."
Yeah.
But at the end, they're not fulfilling their wish. And I think you providing that history to us enlightens why you do what you do. You are an educator. I can only imagine how many countless of probably hundreds, maybe thousands of people that you've touched and impacted their lives and said, "All right, I'm going to listen to this individual giving me information of what I can do to buy a property, giving me this feedback, experiences he's had." And you've attuned yourself by your own experience that, hey, I learned from something. I'm going to spread the word. And now people are buying houses because of you. There's people sleeping in their houses, working in their own home offices, doing their thing.
Yeah.
Probably doing podcasts in their houses too, just like this one, because of Jide Buckley. I mean, that must
friggin' awesome.
Insane.
You know what's really beautiful about this is that you made a purpose out of it. You found your purpose out of it. Most people, one, will stay in their, you know, current career and they're unhappy and they're just going to stay in it for the rest of their lives. And again, the unhappiness, you know, how do you even live like that? And, you know, for you, it was, and then, you know, for number two, it's like people will be unhappy and then they'll just leave the career altogether. And they might have something good, you know, when it comes to mortgages and real estate. For myself, you know, the checks can be very good. Of course, the amount of work that we put into it is so major. Yeah. But again, most people will walk away if they're not happy. So it's like, I could be sitting here right now and I could be making a phenomenal check, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000. But if I'm not happy, I might walk away.
Right.
And I think you're one of our first guests on our podcast where you created something out of something that was good, even though you weren't happy with it or there wasn't purpose there. You really dug deep to find that purpose.
Right.
And I just like have the chills right now. I keep saying that, but it's because that's so amazing. Like you literally went back in your past and made a purpose out of it and didn't lose that good thing that you got. Because a lot of people, sometimes they lose a good thing and then what are you left with? You know what I mean? So that's so impressive. That's like a real why. Like I know we asked this question to so many people, but that's like a real why right there. That's amazing.
Yeah. If I think the main thing you have to reflect on is like when you're doing something, I guess when you're on a journey, right? If you think money is going to fix things and you're unhappy and you get to the point where you make money and you're still unhappy, that is the lowest of the low. Because now, where's the solution, right? What's going to fix it? Because that was meant to be the fix.
Exactly.
So it's about, when you get to that point, even before that point, reflecting on actually, why do I want to make money, right? And it's the ego, right? It's that feeling of, I want to receive this. I want to have this big house. I want to have this.
Yeah.
But money is a law, right? Like success is a law. And the law is the law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more you receive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's that, there's the helper's high that comes when, if you can help someone do something else, even if you're not making any money from it, even if they're not even going to really be that grateful, just by you knowing that you've done that, that makes you feel this sense of short-term purpose even. And you can keep doing that. And that's the drug now. It's not the drug of receiving money, right? So,
and then there's billions of people in the world. So, you know, you're never going to run out of people. There's that you know, thing you're chasing, they're helping individuals. There's billions of people. So you're not going to run out of that drug. You know what I mean?
You know, you broke a code. Like, a lot of people don't realize you can exit something and do something you're fascinated with and actually make a lot of money. And breaking the code is hard. A lot of people don't understand, you know, there's books like The Secret, things, manifestations, things that you can think about positively to grow yourself and grow your inner circle. And I think that's something that is very difficult to catch on, because people get very lazy, right? I can just eat something from, I mean, I don't want to call names of fast food, but I'll just say fast food. It's fast food places. People just go home, they don't work out, they don't think about things like that. And then they realize they catch themselves very miserable, and they want to point fingers, hey, it was your fault because I got fat or because I became who I became. But at the end, the mirror is really what you're looking at. It's every morning you wake up and look at yourself and say, hey, what did you do as a service to other people to create that I can't even say the word, but to create that word. And I think that's a major thing. Besides breaking the code, I actually wanted to ask you another question is, you know, your name is Jide Buckley. However, that's not your name on social media. So curiosity, you know, is not going to kill this cat, but curiosity is, why is it called Mortgage Kitchen? Or is it the Mortgage Kitchen, right?
The Mortgage Kitchen. It was a lack of creativity, honestly. And it ended up working out in my favor, I guess. People like the name. It was a placeholder name. So I made an Instagram page for my mortgage stuff that was aside from my personal page. And I was thinking of a name. And my plan at the time was to make most of my content in this area. And the background was my kitchen. And I was like, oh, what's my name? And I was like, okay, I need to have mortgage in it. So the mortgage. And I was like, okay, kitchen. Mortgage Kitchen, done. All right, and I just put it in there. That's simple. And then once I started getting a decent amount of people following me in traction, I was like, okay, I can't change it now. So,
and you're stuck with it. A marketing. You went into school for the marketing, and so you know what you're doing with all that. And we'll get to the marketing in just a minute. But I also have a question. So, you know, Mr. Eli was asking, you know, what's your why? You know, and you know, you found your purpose. You went back in time. You're like, I got this, and you're doing amazing. But you know. And if anybody was wondering, you know, Mr. Jide he is a model, so let's get that off the table here.
I'm retired.
So that's answered there. But truly, what I really wanted to ask is, you know, where did you find your drive? So not your why, but like really what started pushing you, because it's not just in mortgages. You were in marketing. You're in marketing. You're in mortgages. You know, modeling. So many different things. So what really pushes you? Where's that spark that you were maybe young and you were like, I need to I need to be driven. You know, you grew up not both your parents and your property, just your mom. You know, where were you like, I have to be like the one?
I think I got most of it from my mum in terms of like her nature, her competitiveness. I was in sports since I was a kid. So that kind of helps. And then honestly, it's this like, I have this like innate drive to, I guess, look after my mum. I think that's what it is. And it's like, this isn't like a my mum-a-thon, but you know, I guess
shout out to mom.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's like, I'm an only child, so I don't have any other siblings that I can be like, oh, this sibling might do really well. And you know, my family, like, you know, we're not the richest, right? Pretty far from it. And it's a family of predominantly actually just women. So I'm like the only like guy. I guess I just have this commitment. I feel a level of commitment to provide for my family. and to keep my Buckley name going, because I'm like I'm one of two male Buckleys of my generation.
Wow.
The other one's my little cousin who's just graduated college.
Got it.
So I feel like I need to kind of keep the name going, and I'm just honestly, I'm obsessed with winning too. It's like I just want to win at whatever I do. Like I just start it and, you know, don't play Monopoly with me. Do you know what I mean? I will be playing for like 5-6 hours.
There you go.
Yeah.
But that's so huge because, you know, you're not just trying to win with an ego. You're winning with like the heart. You're winning with the soul. You have a background that's showing other people, hey, this guy's just not about himself. He's about everybody around him. And at the end, you all elevate together, right? And that's huge. I mean, I'm sure you feel it. You go home at the end of the day and you're like, I feel accomplished. I feel like I completely fulfilled my day. I touched enough lives where now I feel like they're going to buy something. And even if it's not with you, because we have the same field, we're in mortgage, we do the same thing. Obviously, our approach is a little different. And all of us, we were talking about it before the podcast, everybody's approach in business is a little bit different. You know, you're very focused on education and you touch and impact lives that way. We're very focused on a certain type of influence, a certain type of way, a methodology that we have by networking. A little different for us, right? But at the end, we all still together want to build something to not just be financially well off, but also to build a certain platform for the future so that our kids are left well off. You know, we have a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old now. He just turned 17.
Awesome.
You have no kids, right?
No, not yet.
Everybody knows that.
To soon.
He's got no kids. Yeah, but he's taken though. So, okay. So no ideas, but that's the whole thing. You do come with a purpose. So in your lifetime, you know, actually, can I ask you how old you're?
Yeah, I'm turning 30 this year. I'm 20.
You're turning 30. When?
June.
June.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're a Gemini, huh?
I am. Yeah.
I'm so scared. Okay, so I'm surrounded by Geminis. I'm sorry. So you're gonna be 30. So one of the biggest things is you're hitting a certain, not plateau, but you're exiting the 20-year-old frame. You're no longer going to be in your 20s. So I'm sure your mission in life is not to continue doing mortgages forever.
Right.
So I'm 45. I've done mortgages for 22 years. I'm already in the point where I don't want to sit at my desk all day and just compute loans all day. So obviously I have a system we built, right? What is your exit? Do you have an idea of what you believe is to the extent of what the Mortgage Kitchen is going to do? You feel like, no, our mortgages forever. There must be some kind of exit strategy.
Yeah. We actually spoke about this before. Yeah. So my ultimate goal is to have a nonprofit.
Okay.
And the overall objective of the nonprofit will be to help people that don't have the opportunity to at least give them the cash for a down payment.
Wow.
It's really that simple. Yeah. And we'll figure out how it works.
Yeah.
For me, like money will always come. So it's not like I have like a new business venture. Like, oh, I want to make this big thing. Mortgage will always be there in some way, shape or form because I have a skill set in helping people. I'm not going to stop,
of course.
But when I get the opportunity to afford to step back, then yes, the nonprofit comes up right up there. And I think just racking up, you know, more and more people that I can help across the US, and you know, just seeing something that like I've built like have that effect on people. Like I feel like so many people keep working forever because they haven't scratched the itch, right? And it's like, well, no, like when I get to the point where I'm like 65 and I'm like looking back, I'm like, all of these people's lives have been affected by me. I've had an amazing time on Earth. Like, I don't want to pass away. So take me to 165, right? Of course. Ambitiously. I can friggin' close my eyes and friggin' close it with a lot of self-respect. Do you know what I mean?
Fantastic.
So that's my goal, yeah.
Wow. That's so touching because a nonprofit is not something you can just create out of space. You have to have some focus, a visual of what you want to resolve. Like there's a problem, right? And the nonprofit is to solve something, right?
Right.
And to solve the problem with housing, right? I mean, besides the labor and all that we're going through in current market times, to give people an opportunity to buy something that they couldn't buy before because you're like, hey, I'm Jide. I got the opportunity from my fund to give you your 3.5 down on the FHA or your 5% on the conventional or so forth. That's huge because they're the only place people can go to right now is government agencies, right? Or the cities or local counties. Right. Whereas they can say, no, I'm going to go to the Jide Fund and he's got money for me to be able to buy my house. That's kind of cool.
And then can you tell us a little bit, so where are you from again? London?
Near London, yeah, just below London. So a place called West Sussex.
West Sussex.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, like, I'm just gonna be real. You're very famous here in the United States for the Mortgage Kitchen, you know, for doing mortgages. But I mean, I'm just gonna be real. You're also famous to people here in the United States like us. And we're like your fans also because of just like who you are, yourself, your accent. Like, you know, we totally know you're from like London or somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
So that's like another reason why you're famous out here. But you know, you're talking about mortgages in the United States and helping people out here. Do you ever feel that you're gonna expand like worldwide because you do come from another part of the world? You know.
Yeah.
I feel like housing, mortgages is there's a problem for this all around the world. You know what I mean? Yes,
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Main one because that's all we're about is mortgages here. But I feel like, you know, the outreach, you know, only because, and I asked this question only because you are somebody who comes from another country.
Yeah. I would love to be able to go back to England and help.
Wow.
It's just that the system in America allows you to do more things and make more things possible. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different gaps in the system. There's a lot of mortgage is more private in America, right? Whereas in the UK, a lot of it is government funded. Like most of it is government.
Got it.
So it's just more difficult to work these tips and hacks in the UK compared to in America. So I'm just limited on my scope of being able to help people in England. But I would love to go back and do it. Like I just gotta crack the US first, and then we'll go back to UK.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of fans in the UK?
You know what? I think it's about 13% of my audience are from the UK.
That's good.
So it's a pretty decent size, yeah.
But yeah, no, you have a huge following. And I wanted to ask this question. I was going to ask it when we were off camera, but how do you deal with, like, because you have so many followers, you know, do you have stalkers, and like, how do you like deal with them?
Word.
You know?
I don't think I'm that big yet.
Okay.
But I have had like instances whereby, like, you know, I'll get back from the gym and then it's like someone will like DM me being like, oh, I just saw you in the gym, like like weird things like that. But not yet. The thing is that when you're in mortgage, you do have that personal touch too. So I end up speaking to a lot of the people that reach out to me personally.
Right.
So I will have experiences whereby people will call me and they will pretend like they want to get a mortgage, and then they'll just kind of flip it into like something else.
Of course.
So that's, I guess, the closest thing to like a bit of a weird.
It's happened to us before too, like kind of.
It just like, it sucks because we are truly businessmen. We're really trying to help people. We're really, you know, anybody who's watching right now, the reason why we do marketing, the reason why we're shown all the time, the reason why you have your name Mortgage Kitchen is because we're trying to market ourselves, be known, but in the ultimate ending of it all is to help other individuals. And then again, when we get messed with by, you know, certain people hitting us up and then it's not real, you know, it's an unfortunate waste of time. So, you know, we've dealt with that a couple of times. So, you know, totally get it. We totally get it. But that could be tough.
What's a question for you? What's a really bad time in your life? If I can ask you, I think all of us have experienced really insane moments where you go back and reflect, that one time was really the worst part of my life. And maybe it happened here, maybe outside the country. Have you had an experience where you feel it was either life-changing or maybe it happened with purpose? You know, maybe there was a reason why it happened and now you learn from it. But something where you felt like rock bottom and you're like, I don't think I can escape this.
You know what? I've lived on the edge my whole life.
Okay.
Like I came to America with like $200 in my pocket, and I lived in a hostel for 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like we had like legitimate like prostitutes like in my room.
Jesus.
Yeah, like no joke. Yeah.
That's like low. I mean, you're around.
No, I moved to America on my own.
Okay.
So I came here on my own, and I lived in a hostel for 6 months when I first lived here.
And let's stay. So like, how long have you been in the United States?
Since 2018.
Okay, hold the phone. That's
6
years. Six.
Literally,
Wow.
That's 6 years.
Approaching 6. Yeah.
We're approaching 6 years with the Mortgage Kitchen here today, and literally, you know, he's come into the United States and changed so many people's lives in literally 6 years. Coming here, sleeping in a hostel, you said?
Yeah, I lived in a hostel for 6 months. Yeah, shared my room with
6 months too.
random strangers every other day. People coming in. Yeah, you know, I had a little treasure chest under my bed. I had to like lock it, make sure no one was going to steal my stuff when I left. Yeah.
And where did you like move to LA?
I lived in LA. Yeah, not far from here. I lived on Sunset. I live on Sunset and Cahuenga, so right opposite the CNN towers. So that was on Sunset. So that was the route for fire engines too if they were driving anywhere west.
Yes.
So all night I would just be hearing, and I couldn't sleep. And
Wow.
yeah, it was crazy, but it was really transformative, and I learned a lot. I met a lot of people from random countries. I made the most of the experience, and you know,
Do you feel like that was one of your like really hard moments, but you're that person who changes it into something good?
No, not even, because I came to America knowing that I was going to be down there, right?
Wow.
Like I was halfway through my master's degree.
Okay.
So I had a bachelor's of arts degree in marketing honors, right? I was halfway through a master's degree. I mean, I could do whatever I wanted pretty much, right?
Got it.
But I didn't want to follow that route. I wanted to go ahead and just experience the world and try something new and go to America. I had modeling in my back pocket, so I was like, oh, I can make a few grand here.
Yes.
I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm happy. When I come from a background whereby like we never had money, so I'm not afraid of not having money. Like being in a low place is not like, all I know is like the only way is up for me. But I would say for me, like probably the lowest place in my life was, when I was a kid, like life was pretty bleak. But like, I mean, you know, you're kids, so like it's difficult. I'd say my lowest adult moment might be, this is just like super deep, but I guess I'll share it with you.
Thank you so much.
I moved to America, and the reason I could move to America was because I was born in America.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a very easy pathway to living here because I already had a passport, so I could just come and live here, right?
I see.
And my dad was still living in America, and I'd never met him in person, never looked at him in the face, right?
Wow.
But he was in Arizona, and I moved to LA, and in the back of my mind, I was kind of like, okay, I have a feeling that he might, because I had him on Facebook, and I'd reached out to him before, and he really wasn't that interested, and he always pretended like he wanted to meet me, but he never really did.
Got it.
So I came to LA, and I was in the back of my mind thinking, oh, like maybe I'll reach out to him, but I never reached out to him, and he didn't reach out to me, and I know his family knew that I was here. Anyway, long story short, I just started mortgage, just started it, right? And one morning I was sitting in my car and I got a call from my mum, and my mum was like, yeah, Jide, you know, she was like, started crying. She was like, I just found out from your dad's sister that he passed away.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I kind of just was there, and I was like, oh man, you know, when you think something can happen, like in the back of my head, I was always thinking, oh, I'll meet him. And then now the opportunity is not there. And then you feel this like feeling of like, okay, do I feel sad? Because I don't have any memories to look back on.
Of course.
Right. And then you're also like, well, am I kind of angry because he didn't reach out to me, or am I this or that? But ultimately what that led me to feel was this feeling of, I need to set myself up to the point whereby I want to have an amazing relationship with my kid. I want to be a great father. I want to look after my family. I want to do all these right things. Like I flipped it to my benefit, right? And one thing that most people don't have is, a lot of people want to do something, right? Like they want to be this thing. But the reason why they don't get to that place is because it's much easier. Okay, this is the best way to describe it, right? Who's going to run faster? The person running towards $1 million or the person running away from a lion? True. Right? I would say the person running away from a lion.
I was going to say the lion.
Right? And that's the same thing with life. Like everyone's got these goals, but if you have something that you're running away from, or that you're like, I do not want to be that, you're going to drive way faster towards your goal. And for me, I look back and I saw my dad's life, and I saw that he didn't have any other kids. He didn't have any connection with me. He was a dreamer. He was saying, oh, I'm going to have all these amazing things and do all these big things, and you're going to come see me, son. And I never got to look him in the eyes or even shake his hand. And I'm like, you know what? I do not want to be that. If I'm a dreamer, I'm a doer. Like, it's the second I say I'm going to freaking do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, execute.
And from that, before then I was already a doer, right? But at that point, it's like, no, like, okay, I'm going to post something, I'm posting it. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. If I'm going to work, I'm going to work. And it's like, I don't talk now, I do, you know? So that was probably the lowest moment of my adult life. That was one of the most transformative moments of my adult life too.
That's insane, you know. And we both still have our parents, and they luckily they're still in our life. But I can only imagine not having one, you know, the father who's supposed to be the one that helps you as a man, right, to help kind of bring you up. But you had your mom, which obviously she played both roles for you, and I can see how that could be very impactful. I mean, that's a very deep, touching story, and I'm sure hundreds of people that watch this stuff can realize like, hey, that I don't have a father. That happened to me. That's very reflective on their own past. Like that happened to me. But you're a perfect example of, hey, you could fall, you could lose a lot, and even have the opportunity to not even have the opportunity of meeting your own father. And yet you're still here in Rodeo doing a podcast with us, influencing the world, creating this amazement in other people's minds of saying, hey, home ownership is right. It's knocking on your door.
Right.
Like, hey, come on, it's time to get a house.
Yeah.
It's your turn. And you're changing lives by how you experience yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty deep stuff because you have a mission, and you probably, and I'm sure you know it, but
I think most people, many people are probably going through what you're going through, and they won't make that move to flip the script, to say, let me sit here, let me ground myself, let me think about this situation and how am I going to take it from here. Most people, again, will live that life of, this is just what it is, it's happened to me, I'm going to kind of live that sad life now, I never get to see my father or look him in the eyes. This is so deep, and again, you grounded yourself and then you made something out of it. And sitting here today with you, I know we hung out before, but we're getting really deep here today.
Yeah, big time.
So much just, interviewing you, because again, I think I'm one of those people who, and Eli probably knows this, it's hard for me to ground myself and literally look at a situation that's going so tough for me. I sometimes will just let it eat me. But if people, who are watching, if you could just be a little bit like Jide and ground yourself and look at your situation, it might be one of the hardest situations in the world, because you just told us one of your hardest times, and thank you for sharing that. Just try to ground yourself. Think about the situation. Think about what this can do for you as a person, because Mr. Jide, being in the United States for less than 6 years, helping people with their mortgages in the millions, you're just changing lives, and you guys can do that too. But again, you have to be able to ground yourself, and you have to be able to think about your situation. Again, most people don't do that. This is so powerful for you to share. This is like life-changing right now. So
yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Yeah.
So you're talking about you and Ashley. So I don't know if I can talk about your relationship.
No, go for it. Yeah.
You Ash, yeah. Should have been here. But anyways, so you want to be a father. You said that, hey, I want to be there for my kids. Have you discussed how many kids you want to have, or where you want to live? And again, we're not disclosing where it's living, but maybe in the future, maybe this dream that you're going to execute on.
Yeah, as many as I can, right? We'll go 3, 4, like not too crazy. I think Orange County is a really cool place.
Yeah.
I love LA, but I think if you're to raise a family in LA, it's going to be quite difficult.
Right.
Orange County is a little bit more suburban. Great hub for mortgage. Private schools will be necessary.
Beaches.
So yeah, I think that's the plan. How soon that will be, I don't know, but we'll see. Yeah.
We'll call you later, Ash.
So in your originating business, because you're obviously a licensed originator, where was or actually who is the person that helped pivot you up? So in my business, when I started becoming an originator, I can easily pinpoint a name and the person that helped bring me up to be who I am.
Yeah.
Obviously, my experiences are something else, which we've discussed. Is there a person or a group of people that maybe one day you sat with and said, all right, you're going to help me become who I am, and eventually you take flight on your own, right?
Yep.
Is there somebody in your life that helped you become the performing loan officer you are today?
Yes. And his name is Mike Horn.
Mike Horn.
Yep. And he was the guy who took a chance on me before anyone else did. So I was in the call center. I started doing stuff on social media. Didn't really, I think I had a few thousand followers at the time. It was half decent.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm fed up with this call center life of just trying to, what it is knowledge arbitrage, right? If we know something that the consumer doesn't know, we can sell them on something and make more money on the deal, right?
Right.
That's the reality of any business, right? That's all business is knowledge arbitrage. Now, I don't like that, because that's a level of, that makes me feel uncomfortable. And I was in the call center and they were pressuring that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to step back.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any friends, family, or network here. And I just had my social media thing. I was like, no, screw it. I'm going to push on social, and I'm going to teach people everything I know to balance out that knowledge curve, right? So now the consumers are more informed. They can make better decisions and save money, right?
Yeah.
That's everything I do. That's the whole channel.
Wow.
So I left the call center and I was like, I have delusional confidence, which actually isn't delusional because I can achieve it, right? But I left the call center and I was like, okay, I'm just going to start, generating my own business. And I had a little bit of a social media presence, but I didn't have anything going on.
Right.
And I reached out to Mike Horn and I actually got him on a podcast. I set up a podcast right at the beginning.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And I started speaking to him and I was asking him questions about what he did in mortgage because at the time I didn't have a huge amount of experience, especially on purchases, right? Purchases is so different to refi.
Of course.
I mean, refi is, I don't even know if that really classifies as mortgage. It's more of just like a customer,
Yeah, it's like an application.
It's a cool. So yeah, I had Mike Horn on the podcast, and Mike Horn is a really experienced loan officer who then became a branch manager of Caliber Home Loans in Santa Ana.
Oh yeah, Caliber, that's right, yeah.
So Caliber is a company that you need to have 2 years worth of experience as a loan officer. You need to have a huge book of business of, however many realtors in your book of business, and you need to have a proven track record to even be part of the company, right?
Of course.
And I was this 6 months into the business, fresh-faced kid with no network, no realtors, no nothing. I spoke with Mike on the podcast, and Mike, at the end of the podcast, was saying, he said to me, look, if you need anything, just give me a call. And I was like, okay. And I started calling him for advice and like, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? What do I do with it? And then I said, look, Mike, I'm going to be honest. Can I come work with you? Because I just don't know really what to do at this point because I'm on my own.
Right.
And Mike was like, yeah. And he gave me a sign-on bonus and everything. Wow. And he said, yep, come work for my branch. He set me up. He forced me to read guidelines. He was like giving me homework.
Wow.
So mortgage guidelines are essentially the rules, right, around the loan. So you can understand, okay, if someone calls you up with this credit score or this in this situation, you could instantly be like, okay, yes, this fits, this doesn't fit. And he was the guy who forced me to learn. And I thought I was learning at a good pace, but he was learning 5 times faster than I was.
Right.
And he wasn't even originating. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to step up, if I'm going to catch up with all these other loan officers that are part of the branch,
of course,
who've been doing it for 10 years, I need to listen to this guy and friggin' put some work in. And he reached out for me and helped me out so much. And all I can say is, for a lot of the knowledge that I have today, for the leg up that I got from Mike, I don't think I'd be in the same position I am today without him. 100%.
Wow. Shout out to Mike. Well, and I say that because legit,
I think he's talking about himself.
Not this Mike.
Not this Mike. And I say shout out because truly just by you helping one individual, Mike, to Mr. Jide helping us, and then, so on, and that you're just changing so many lives just from that one person that said, hey, call me. That one little call. Yeah. I mean, you have literally changed so many people's lives from all of your, updates and media. I'm in the real estate world, so for me, it's like we don't get this type of like information. Right. We have to go search for it and really dig to our lenders to find them. Most lenders statistically are 55 years old plus. And because of that, I'm not saying anybody who's 55 plus doesn't know how to use technology, but for the most part, not, if you're like 55, 60, maybe you don't know how to use it as good as somebody who's like in their 20s and 30s.
Right.
So you are somebody in your 20s and you're able to, put that knowledge onto, reels and all, media. And me as a real estate agent and all of my people I work with, we can go to somebody like you, click on your page, and we have a mortgage update that day. That is so powerful because it's not just an update. We get to go to our buyers, to our clients. Me as a real estate agent, I have this update from you, from a professional mortgage loan lender. And then that individual that day may just want to buy a house because of what you shared on your media, which is just a news update. And for you, maybe you're just like, it's just a news update, but it truly is not, because if I were to find that house for that individual that day, then again, we together changed lives.
Yep.
And then we're doing exactly what you felt when you were a young boy, when you moved into your property and that smile you had on your face.
Yep.
Your updates on the daily they literally do that for families. So I just want to thank you for that. That is amazing stuff.
Thank you.
So I have a analyzing question for you, because since I'm in the mortgage space, let's talk about something very deep. Let's talk about some very deep, difficult loans, right?
Okay.
So I know this will be intriguing to some loan officers, agents out there. So what is one of the most toughest loan transactions you've ever had? Something that was so hard that
how many days was it?
I mean, let's talk about all that. Like, right. So guys, if you're in the real estate space, here at Jide, he's going to explain something that probably wasn't possible, but was possible.
Yeah.
And he made the dream come true.
So one of them was a purchase in Palm Springs.
Okay.
And whoever, I mean, you know, this person is a friend of mine now. He's probably going to be watching this, I'm sure. And what it was that they were buying a home, and as part of the HOA, there was a golf course and a restaurant and all these other things, right? And essentially what happened is we got approval, we got AUS, everything was fine, right? We were able to move forward with the loan. And then halfway through, they had put their deposit down, everything, right? They came back to us and said, well, this is technically classified as a condotel rather than a condo. And I was like, oh, okay. Can you explain why? And I have to refresh my memory on the exact rules on this one because I haven't faced this before again since then.
Right.
But what it was that it was too high of a percentage of the revenue from the HOA was generated from the golf course and the restaurant, which then made it technically become a condotel. So what I needed to do is I needed to then essentially look to reclassify the property. So I ended up actually I went so hard for this loan, and it wasn't even the biggest loan. I went so freaking hard. And I was with Mike at the time, Mike Horn, and he said to me, he was like, dude, look, you've tried your best for these guys, let them go. I'm like, I'm not letting them go. Yeah. Like, forget, you're the guy who taught me this.
Yeah.
And what was it that I had to do? So it was, we had to flip it. And what ended up happening basically is, long story short, I had to go through, I had to look at title on all of the properties and see what properties were, what properties were basically held by individuals that were owning the property as an investment property versus as a primary residence. And I ended up basically squeezing the loan through and making it work by reclassifying it in some way. And I can't remember exactly what I did, and I really need to go back over this one again. But yeah, long story short, we got over the condotel issue and we ended up turning it back into a condo and we moved forward.
That sounds, it's a very similar thing to like what happens with FHAs that are not condo approved.
Yeah.
So it's very similar, but it definitely, condotels have their complications. It's such a rarity though.
Like the word condotel doesn't even sound like a real word.
Yeah.
Right? When I first heard it, I was like, what's a condotel?
I assume condotel just has some meaning behind the fact that it's a condo with the amenities that a hotel has, and the hotel itself is making more money that the condo is kind of smaller to some extent.
Smaller fraction of the income from
Yeah.
But you know what I love is that you literally, Mike, sorry, but he didn't listen to you.
Yeah.
And like individuals, like even they're told by their coaches or something, just give it up, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes even when you have a coach, you have a hunch inside yourself.
Yeah.
You believe, you know, at least I believe this, that you have to sometimes take that hunch, even when somebody tells you no, even when it's somebody that you believe in so much. I mean, you know, we're partners and we believe in each other at 100, you know?
And I know how to step away. I'm like, you do your thing, I'm out. I'm off.
Yeah, you know, we respect our coaches and mentors and everything like that, but sometimes you have to have that little hunch, and if you take it, I mean, look at what you just did, you know what I mean? And we do that all the time in our business too.
Yeah.
We'll take that hunch, and then our families are in their houses, and we're like, you know, we're sitting there when it's closed, and we're like, if we didn't go with our gut, that family with their 2 kids that was living in a 1-bedroom apartment, now they have 3 bedrooms, would not have this right now, but it's because of that little hunch, you know?
Yep.
So I love that you take it onto your...
Yeah. And I want to stick with the subject only because I feel like a lot of people in our circle are in this business.
Yeah.
So maybe what's another scenario that you had where someone was just...
So we had a couple in Vegas who were moving to Texas, and I had recently got my Texas license at the time, and I was like, great, okay, let's do the thing. They were working with the builder's lender, and they just ended up not trusting the builder's lender. So I actually let them go. I was like, look, you should work with the builder's lender because they're giving you this incentive.
Right.
So for anyone that doesn't know, right, when you're buying a new construction property, typically the builder's lender, you know, it's not great. You know, as a lender, we don't accept this, but the builder's lender can usually get you a better deal, right?
Yes.
Because they have incentives that are built in with the builder.
Correct.
And only a good lender will tell you what you just said, because
Right.
any lender who's scared to tell you the truth of what is out there, then, you know, they're just hiding that information.
Right. So as soon as you come across a builder's lender, it's difficult to compete, right?
Correct.
It's just not fair. So I let her know that. I'm like, look, I let you go. Please go and do the thing with them. She came back to me. She had a very funky income situation, and they weren't willing to start working around with it and playing with it, right? So she was almost going to have it thrown out, and she already put her earnest money deposit down. So she came back to me, and basically the issue was that she needed the incentives, but the income calculation was just so tricky with her hourly income and things of that nature. And then her husband worked on an oil rig, actually. So I had to like look at his hours, because the hours are so unusual when you work on an oil rig.
That's right.
Because you get paid for the entire time that you're on the rig. You have to explain that, right? Because it's an unusual amount of, when you work on an oil rig, you work an unusual amount of hours because you're being paid while you sleep. So you have to go back to the underwriter and be like, look, underwriter, this is a lack of explanation. He's getting paid in his sleep right now, right? Or like, you know, he's on the rig for this amount of time. He's working an unusual amount of hours because this is the type of employment that he has.
Of course.
And these were things that the builder's lender wasn't really versed on and wasn't able to do. I had to go back over, write all these LOEs, get all these things going, and then we got it going. But then the last thing we needed was the incentive, because they needed the money from the builder's lender to close the loan. So we ended up fighting till the last second, and we got the builder to essentially allow us to have the same incentive as the builder's lender. So that was one recent one. Yeah,
I love that. I've had such a similar scenario. I can literally share that. I had a client that literally was right at the signing table, and we were pushing very hard to get the builder to do the same thing. And they knew that this property was the last one for them to close out their phase. They're like, all right, we're just going to go for it, just because we need to go to the next phase, and we're stuck here trying to close this out. So that's great. I mean, that's honestly what separates you, right? Like, because you could have given up. There's so many moments in a LO's life, and guys, like, this is real. There's bad loan officers. It's just the reality of life. There's people that just don't care. Well, this is too difficult for me to perform on.
Right.
I'd rather get the big cheese. But there really isn't, in the broker world. There's complicated files.
Oh, big time.
I mean, I don't know if you can agree with me, Jide, but I feel like 90% of our business is pretty complex.
Yeah.
Am I okay?
It's just not easy. And as soon as you think it's easy, you're like, okay, wait, you're waiting for it to get difficult.
Right. Oh, it's something will pop up. Let's title or something. I don't know. Something will come.
Appraisal comes in and it's like way undervalued. You're like, okay, great. No,
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's fascinating, right? Because and I'll be honest with you, this is why I love mortgages. I'm sure that's why you like real estate. You get a pile of papers and they're all crunched in, and you're like, here's my mortgage. What, can you make this flat? You're like, yeah, of course. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna make this happen, and that is your duty. Every morning you wake up with how many files that you perform on. That is what you do. You wake up, you drink your coffee. I can already imagine your schedule, but you probably wake up, do your workout, and I'm already kind of signing your document here.
Yeah.
But I can imagine what you do. But then you open up your computer, you're like, all right, let's look at all the mess I got. Obviously, theoretically, right? You're not going to say that all out loud, and you figure it out. You put the puzzle pieces together, and you do your job. I mean, is that pretty much how you feel? How your day goes?
Yeah. I actually have started working out in the middle of the day now, because I like to take the approach of looking at work like sport. So sometimes like in anything, right? Like if you're in a basketball game, right, and you're losing the game, and the other team's just freaking caught an amazing alley-oop and they just dunked it, and the crowd's going crazy.
Right.
The only next logical thing for you to do is take a timeout, because you need to stop the momentum of the game, so that your team can get back on the bench, sit there, start to kind of collect their thoughts, re-strategize, and then get back on the court and shift the momentum. And that's the same way I think about my day. You know, it's like the first half of the day, it could go great or it could go really bad. But now if I keep that same momentum from before lunch to after lunch, I mean, the whole day's gone bad, you know, if I've had a bad first half of the day. So what I like to do is I like to have the first half whereby, you know, however it turns out, if it's a really good first half of the day, right, I'll take an hour out to go to the gym in the middle of the day, and I'll reflect on why it was so good. I'm going to be freaking pumped. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to work out and like have a smile on my face, be listening to positive, happy music. And then I'm going to go back into the second half. Whereas if it was a bad start to the morning, I get some time to sit there, or not sit there, stand there, work out, and just take a deep breath, recenter, get my emotions back up, bring my momentum back, and then the second half is actually better. So I find that usually if I insert gym in the middle of the day, I'm able to actually have more overall productive days now.
Which I really love, because for me, I recently have got a gym trainer, a coach, and basically before when I would work out, I would not even take like a 30-second break when lifting weights, and now he literally makes me wait 2 minutes. And when I wait those 2 minutes, the amount that I could lift after those 2 minutes is so much more than if I just would stop, breathe for 10 seconds, and then go again. I would stop at like 3 reps. But then when I take that little time out of 2 minutes, which I don't want to do, because when you're rushed, you're like, I don't want to stop. I just want to keep going. That goes in mortgages and real estate and the gym if you're watching. So you don't want to stop, but it's necessary. So I really love that you take that time out, that even though, and it's funny because we're saying time out and break in the middle of the day when in reality it's work because you're working out. But the concept of it is beautiful.
I feel like it's very similar to napping. Like I have rules in my mind. I can't really nap because I feel like I don't know how I'm going to wake up. I'm confused if I'm going to wake up grouchy or if I'm going to wake up happy.
Yeah.
I take these power eye closing things. I don't even know what you can call them. I'll close my eyes for maybe 10 minutes, but I'll make sure I don't fall asleep. I just mentally, maybe not meditate, but I'll just close my eyes, be alone, no music, complete silence. And then 10 minutes later, I open up my eyes and I actually feel completely recharged versus actually trying to sleep and then waking up and then you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Now your day really feels it. And again, I'm different. Do you take naps?
No. I'm a terrible sleeper.
What does that mean?
I just, ever since I was a kid, I just don't, I always feel like I'm missing out on something. Like something good must be going on while I'm asleep, you know?
Gemini. It's a Gemini.
Yeah.
I think I'm a natural Scorpio because I like the darkness and I like crawling into something dark space with nobody around me.
I like the idea of it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like, oh, the idea of sleeping would be so great, but then my mind won't let me sleep, so I've got to keep, you know.
Well, I honestly really love the fact that you came on our podcast. Extremely fascinating to hear you out, speak out. Many people that are following you on social media, they like you. They like what you have to give them, the information you pass on to them. And I'm sure people might DM you or send us messages saying, wow, like this was great. My life was impacted. Something came from this. And now I believe I can be a lender or I can do something with intention, with a purpose from what I went through in my past life. Or, I mean, current life, but in the past.
Yeah.
Not past life. Sorry, not getting religious, but I think that's great. And I feel like there's so much more to you that we can fit into a 1-hour segment of a podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see where this is going to head on. I mean, we instantly connected with you when we were hanging out at the Cappuccino Maker right in Sunset.
That's the one.
You and Ashley are just really cool people, and we want to continue being your friends. And we're going to bug you on text message, be like, what are you guys up to? Let's go have a brunch or something.
Yeah.
But we really want to appreciate your time. If you can let our viewers know, where can they follow you on Instagram or any other platforms?
Yep. So it's at the Mortgage Kitchen. I would give you my name, so it's Jide Buckley, but most people, you know, it's spelt like Jide, right? Jide and then Buckley, but it's at the Mortgage Kitchen on most social platforms. Yeah.
There you go. Loves it. Thank you, Mr. J, for being here for us. We're so happy.
And honestly, thank you for that. And you have any final words about your presence or anything that you want to do for your future?
I guess the one thing I can say to leave this is I feel like my whole life and everything I've done has taken a complete shift as soon as I shifted my perspective from what can I get to what can I give, you know? And literally instantly overnight, everything changed. And I started receiving more just by changing that focus. And that comes in all forms, right? Social media, as soon as you're on social media, you start to attach your self-esteem to that platform, you know? And you start thinking, oh man, like what if I look bad, or what if I do this? If you approach social media from a perspective of what can I give, your social esteem isn't attached, because all you're thinking is I don't really care about the way that I look, don't care about the way that I sound. I care about the information I'm giving. And you end up producing more content, you end up doing more things. So overall, as soon as you make that perspective shift in your life and it's genuine, it's a completely different direction you're going, and things will start to look up.
Wow. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. This is the end of our podcast. Seriously, watch this podcast. We'll release it on Sunday, probably next week. Give it a little bit of time editing. We're going to do 3 reels, so stay tuned to watch this information on YouTube and as well on our social media platforms. Jide Buckley, The Mortgage Kitchen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.